So, after having just played games like Death Trash and Darkest Dungeon 2, I felt that I need something a little less, well, gross. As good as those games are, I just needed something a little different, you know? And I picked the perfect palate cleanser, because Slime Rancher 2 is just so cute, it's the polar opposite of those other two games. I mean, come on, when you walk through the literal rainbow fields and see the adorable little slime creatures hop up from the ground, it's hard not to just get a smile on your face. It's like slapping you with pure, wholesome endorphins. Hey, I'm a red-blooded, well, okay, I'm a red-blooded Canadian. I work out 4 to 5 times a week, and I'm not afraid to admit when something is cute. Real men embrace the cute. The environments are beautiful, frankly, from the aforementioned literal rainbow fields to magma-crusted mountains to winding caverns that just beg to be explored. And despite its early access nature, there's actually quite a few of them with 3 islands, each with 2 to 3 environments, all packed with stuff to find. Like, when you look at the map, you can actually see how many of these little secret caches are hidden on that particular island, and I was actually surprised just how many there were on each island every time I went there. And a lot of them require you to pay close attention to the environments too, with many being hidden in out-of-the-way places like alcoves and up and behind rocky spires. Sometimes they were in places that I felt like I shouldn't have been able to reach, but lo and behold, I got rewarded with one of these caches for going out of my way. These little caches contain anything from upgrades to your gear, which is always nice to see, but mostly they're cosmetics, like trees and rocks and stuff that you can use to decorate your farm, which, let's be real, that's at least half the reason we play farming games like this. Although the customization can feel limited, there's plenty of different things to place, like trees and statues with your slimes and stuff, but where you can place them is often very limited. But there's still plenty of options to make your farm feel like your own. There are also these little robots you can find scattered around the environment that carry journal entries from another explorer that tried to farm this planet before you. In fact, you're actually using their old stuff, and there's plenty of other things to discover as well that I just don't want to spoil. But what's important is that everything I was finding felt cool to find and felt rewarding. They all felt like something worth my time to go out of my way and get. And especially after you unlock the jetpack, the world becomes so much fun and rewarding to explore. Although I do wish you could place like map markers or something. Kind of like how, in Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring you had a variety of map markers to tell yourself, oh yeah, there's a merchant over there, or oh yeah, I found a Korok seed over there. It was subtly one of the most satisfying parts of those games because you weren't just clearing a map, but instead filling it out with your own adventures and journeys and notes. It was it was a digital representation of the adventure you've been on. Not that the map is particularly big in this game at the moment, but still, it'd be cool if they could add something like that here, and there is still plenty of stuff packed into the map to keep you busy. But the early game in particular has you going back and forth between exploring the island and dumping resources back at your farm, because inventory space is very limited until you upgrade it, or you unlock certain devices that allow you to just transfer stuff back to your base from the open world. That's why it'd be nice to have something to mark parts of the map to return to later, to remind yourself where valuable resources are or about that cool cave you just didn't have time to explore, since you still have to go back to tend to your farm occasionally. And constantly having to go back and forth between the open world and your farm can get a little annoying after a while until you upgrade. But even when you're not exploring, there's still a little bit of busy work. These types of games often have the player progressing to a point where most of their farm ends up being automated, like instead of having to water every single plant in Stardew, you eventually just unlock sprinklers that do that for you. There's a degree of that automation in Slime Rancher 2 with upgrades to your pens that automatically gather resources, but no matter what, you gotta go to the pen, suck up all of those resources and add them to your inventory, then walk them over to the forge or trader and deposit them. It became especially noticeable once I bought an expansion to the farm, so now I had to walk out of my main farm, go through some tunnels to the expansion, gather up everything I needed from there, and then bring them all the way back to the main farm to deposit them again. It can get tedious after a while and only becomes more so as you expand and your farm gets bigger and bigger and you have to do that more and more often, with the only solution being to craft a bunch of those devices that let you transfer resources and plopping them down everywhere. But you still gotta go and gather everything and the food and bring the food to the correct pen and all that. That all being said, that's kind of all par for the course with this genre of farming sim, and is something fans will probably actually enjoy. That loop did help make the game feel like a relaxing, more meditative experience for me. You don't play these games for challenge after all, you play them to relax, and this game does a great job of that. So I should probably explain the gameplay loop right about now. The bulk of your time is spent going out and exploring, finding resources to upgrade your farm, and then capturing slimes and imprisoning them in a small confined cage with dozens of the kin so you can collect their poop. Or plorts as the game likes to call them, but their poop. You give them food, then plorts sort of pop out of their body, and after they eat, They're slime poop. That's what they are. You can't convince me otherwise. But hey, I guess at least we're not forcing them to fight each other to the death like in Pokemon. In fact, there's almost no combat in this game. The closest thing you get to fighting is at night when these slime tar monsters will appear and attack you and the other slimes, and if you get the upgrade that allows you to hold water, you can just spritz them a little bit with your water gun and make them explode. I think that sounds more exciting than it actually ends up being, because there's really only one enemy type. Just shoot them with a couple spritz of water and they're done. Or, as I like to do, suck them up and shoot them off a cliff. That works too. It's very easy. You don't need to be a particularly good shot. The hitboxes on your slimes are huge. You're not here for the combat, is what I'm trying to say. The evil slimes feel like they're just there to vary up the gameplay a little bit and make nighttime feel a little more distinct, which it does do. But it's a chill farming game at the end of the day. You go out, you gather up some slimes, take them back to your farm, where you gather that type of slime's unique plort, which you can then use to either sell for money or as crafting materials to upgrade your gear, which in turn allows you to further explore or to build more pens for more slimes or farms for food to feed said slimes, and thus the cycle continues. It's all very simple, but I can't deny how satisfying it all was. I'd often get into an almost meditative like state as I played, just going out, exploring and bringing my loot / new slimes back, upgrading some things and taking a brief moment to feed my slimes and sell it or deposit their plorts into storage. Although there are some resources that you can only be found in the open world, so you can't just stay in your little farm forever. You do have to go out and explore if you want certain upgrades and to craft certain things. It's all very chill. It's just a great game to throw on a podcast and relax to. It's not very challenging, but there's plenty to discover and explore. The gameplay loop is simple but satisfying. There's just something that feels so satisfying about sucking up copious amounts of slimes and resources, and there's actually quite a few different types of slimes to discover as well. That was where most of my excitement came from whenever I got to a new area. I was always excited to see what cute new breeds of slimes that would inhabit that new area and then happily purge any potentially valuable resources I was carrying to make room in my inventory to gather them up. Not only that, but you can even crossbreed them to make more unique breeds. Just throw a couple different types of slimes into the same pen, feed them, and boom, you've created a new species. They kind of just merge together to create something new and also double in size. You want an exploding boom slime mixed with a rock slime? Go for it. Or a bat mixed with a crystal slime? You can do that too. There doesn't seem to be any limit. If you think these two types of slimes would look cool if they combine, then you can just go ahead and do it. And it's beneficial for you too, as new hybrid slimes will drop plorts of both types of slimes that make it up, freeing up room on your farm for more slimes, and you now get more plorts for the food you put in. And they often just look cooler too, not gonna lie. You also have to make sure you have the right upgrades for the pen you're putting the slimes in, because some require specific upgrades. Like any flying type of slime, you probably want really high walls and a net on top to keep them from, flying away, or some slimes can only exist at night. So before putting them in there, you need to make sure you have a special shield around the pen to protect them from the sun. You also have to keep in mind what each type of slime eats. Some only eat fruit, some are vegetarians, and others only consume the flesh of descendants of dinosaurs. It's, again, all very simple, obvious stuff, but it's still satisfying to upgrade and grow your farm to support more different types of slimes. And a lot of this stuff the game just kind of lets you figure out for yourself. There's a tutorial at the start that teaches you the basics, and there's a Slimepedia. God, everything in this game is just drenched in cute, which gives you some info on the gooey inhabitants of this world, but for the most part, the game just sets you loose and lets you enjoy the sense of discovery and exploration. There's like little hints for some things, like crossbreeding for slime can happen in the wild, tipping the player off that they may be able to do that themselves, but it's on you to figure out most things, which I just love. Open world games are about the exploration and discovery, so they should never keep you from that. Slime Rancher mostly just lets you loose onto the world. But I do have to admit, I kind of feel bad for just cramming all of these slimes into tiny little pens. You have no other option available to you or way to make the pens bigger. You could make the walls taller and throw a net on top to truly crush all hope of escape, but they will always be in these tiny little boxes. I would like to see like a free range slime option maybe, where I could give them a field or something to stretch their goo. The story in the game is about your character going off to explore this new planet they've discovered. It's told mostly through those robots I mentioned earlier and video calls you get from various characters who share an interest in the planet. It's pretty bare bones as is, to be honest. There's this mystery as to what happened to whoever left those robots scattered around the planet. as well as question just at how the planet came to be in the first place, as there's some weird aspects to it that point to something strange going on. It's interesting enough that I didn't mind finding those robots and trying to piece together what happened, but the fact that you only ever interact with other characters through an in-game video call, and your interactions with them are kind of brief, prevented me from ever getting too invested. That all being said, it's also kind of nice the story is just basically optional, allowing you to just focus on building your farm up. This is not a pseudo dating sim like Stardew Valley where you're going to get invested in these characters and their stories. It's all about just chilling out, exploring, building your farm, and collecting a variety of increasingly cute slime creatures. Slime Rancher 2 ends up being a perfect palate cleanser and just a great way to just relax at the end of the day. It's far from challenging, instead giving the player a lush, colorful alien world to explore at their leisure, and a variety of cute slime creatures to hang out with, and it's charming as hell. I was drawn in by that alone, to be honest. I challenge anyone to just walk through the rainbow fields of Slime Rancher 2 as adorable slimes pop out of the ground to meet you and not smile at it all. The game is very much worth the $30 Canadian for it, and it's on Xbox Game Pass, so you have no reason not to try it. You know what would also be adorable? If you like and subscribe, it'd certainly make me happy. If you made it to the end of this, thank you and have a good one.